Is coming to a close this weekend. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission into the treatment of natives at residential schools intentionally tried to keep blame out of the picture and focus instead on giving the estimated 80,000 living survivors the opportunity to tell their stories. CTV's Alberta Bureau Chief Janet Dirks has that story.
They were invited to stand, survivors of the residential schools and their families, and so many stood in a room where tears were welcome and memories raw.
The schools were actually centers of indoctrination, we know that, with the intention being to take children away not only from their families, but to take those children away from their culture.
To me, it was like a jail.
Maria Crowchild was sent at the age of 6 to the Crowfoot Residential School south of Calgary.
It took me away from my parents.
Crowchild wants young people to know about what happened. That's why she's here with her grandson.
We can't hide things anymore.
The $60 million commission was ordered as part of a legal settlement. An official apology was part of the deal.
The Government of Canada sincerely apologizes and asks the forgiveness of the Aboriginal peoples of this country for failing them so profoundly.
Edmund Manitowoc spent 8 years at St. Anne's in Fort Albany in Ontario, one of the most notorious of the residential schools.
Sexual abuse that was non-stop, physical, anything that you can hurt the child. Pull their hair, pinch their arm.
An investigation of the school resulted in criminal convictions, and even though a judge ordered the release of the documents involved, the 66-year-old continues to wait.
They're fighting us, they're resisting, and here we are talking about reconciliation. That is not reconciliation.
The commission has until the summer of 2015 to write its final report. All the survivor statements and the research collected will be housed in a National Archives Centre to be based in Winnipeg. Janet Dirks, CTV News, Edmonton.
The government's proposed fair election
in the Edmonton hearings for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It comes after a week of hearing stories of pain, suffering, and hope for residential school survivors. As Sarah Richter tells us, it was an emotional day for many survivors.
The Oblates of Lacombe Province would like to renew this apology and pledge once more our desire to journey in solidarity and mutual respect.
These are words Father Ken Forster says are important for residential school survivors to hear.
The injury is still there, so it needs to be said again. Needs to be said again.
It was a renewal of an apology from the Missionary Order of Catholic Priests and Brothers who administered many of the Catholic residential schools in Canada. The apology was first made in 1991.
The good that came out of the schools came at an unbearable cost to First Nations.
Apologizing for the existence of the schools in the first place, the pain and suffering families felt being separated, and much more.
There's also a need to apologize for the specific personal damage that has been done through physical abuse or sexual abuse.
Father Forster was just one of many who publicly apologized, among them organizations and other churches who wanted to move forward in solidarity with residential school survivors and their families.
We support a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
It's part of the final stop by Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Council in Edmonton, bringing to light the dark page in Canada's history. The apologies are part of the healing process.
A lot of hope. If you look around, you see a lot of happy people and a lot of good feelings.
To recognize it, to communicate it is important. It is healing happening, it is forgiveness.
And it's that forgiveness that gives Father Forster so much hope for the future.
Forgiveness is essential, I think, to this whole process, and I'm just encouraged because I see so much of it.